files there. Sitting here wondering what's on the camera the entire time I'm standing here. That's not good.
Oh, I can't. Yeah. We didn't vote.
This is Veronica.
Hi, we're back in open.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are resuming the regular Board of Education meeting of June 4th, 2018. And we are at the consent agenda portion of the agenda. Mr. Sanders, please.
Correct. On the consent agenda, we have personnel report and workers' compensation cases. Minutes of the board meeting, May 7th, 2018. Business services, age and obsolescence plan for classroom desks and chairs. Human resources, healthcare services, provider contract, plant operations department, bucket lift truck. A resolution for the display and public hearing on the Northern Kane County Regional Vocational System budget for fiscal year 2019. Transportation building, Transportation Department, diesel and gasoline fuel. Transportation Department, camera systems for 130 school district buses. And finally, for the Transportation Department, new bus purchase.
Okay, is there any item that any board member would like removed from the consent agenda? Hearing none, could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda of June 4th, 2018?
So moved.
Melissa?
Second.
Sue? Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Gert,
Yes.
Ms. Nolan,
Yes.
Ms. Owens.
Yes.
Mrs. Ward,
Yes.
Mr. Costello.
Yes.
Madam President,
Yes.
approved 6-0.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the selection of a person to fill public office, including a vacancy in a public office. As everyone knows, we interviewed 10 candidates, and we have come to a recommendation for an appointment. So could I have a motion to approve John Devereaux to fill the current Board of Education vacancy?
So moved.
Melissa?
Second.
Sue? Any discussion? Jeanette?
Yes, I first would like to commend the board as a whole for the collaborative manner in which the filling of this vacancy took place. And I speak truthfully to my fellow board members that I really appreciated it. The discussions we had were productive and collaborative, really, truly, in both open and closed. I was disappointed that a candidate on whom the whole board could agree was not able to serve because of legal and employer-related restrictions. There remained no other candidate on whom the whole board could agree. While I appreciated Mr. Devereaux's recent gesture to reach out to me and suggest ways in which we could work together if he were the appointee, we have substantial philosophical differences. Therefore, I cannot vote yes on his appointment. However, should he become the appointee, I hope to work toward a productive and collaborative relationship.
Okay, and Sue?
And I just want to thank all the people who applied for this position. We had 17 applicants in all, many great candidates, and I hope some of them consider running for the board in the future.
Phil?
I did not talk to Mrs. Ward about her comments, but I would say the same thing. I really felt that we had great conversation amongst the 6 of us, and also with Mrs. Kerr. Tremendous output of candidates and expertise. I'll also agree with Mrs. Ward that while I won't be voting in favor of the candidate, I think he has good expertise, but not what I was looking for in a independent voice.
Okay, any other comments? Roll call, please.
Ms. Gert,
Yes.
Ms. Nolan,
Yes.
Ms. Owens.
Yes.
Mrs. Ward,
No.
Mr. Costello.
No.
Madam President,
Yes.
approved 4-2.
Thank you. Congratulations, John. And John did have a pre-scheduled vacation after his son graduated last Saturday, so we are going to swear him in at our next meeting on the 18th. Next item on
And
the
Madam
agenda.
President, a quick question on that. I'm sorry, just to be sure, we did check that that's okay
Yes.
legally. Okay,
Yes,
thanks.
and I talked to the Regional Office of Education, and
Okay, great,
we're all
thanks.
good. Discussion action, Mr. Sanders.
Our first item under discussion action are itemized bills for June 4th, 2018. Administration recommends the Board of Education approve the list of bills in the amount of $7,653,063.36. If you have questions, Dr. King is joined at the dais.
Okay, could I have a motion to approve the itemized bills of June 4th, 2018 in the amount of $7,653,063.36?
So moved.
Phil,
Second.
Melissa? Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Excuse me if I went out of order, but Ms. Owens,
Yes.
Mrs. Ward,
Yes,
Mr. Costello,
Yes.
Ms. Kerr,
Yes.
Ms. Nolan,
Yes.
Madam President,
Yes.
approved 6.
Release of closed session minutes. Could I have a motion to release the following previously approved closed session minutes to the public as redacted and agreed to by the Board of Education?
so
Or
moved.
to-
Sorry.
That's okay, I got to read them all in there. 2009, January 5th, 12th, 24th, 26th, February 2nd, 12th, 23rd, March 2nd, 9th, 16th, April 13th, 20th, 27th, May 4th, 11th, and 18th, June 1st and 22nd, July 20th, August 3rd and 17th, September 14th and 28th, October 5th and 26th, November 2nd and 16th, and December 7th and 14th. And for 2010, January 11th and 25th, February 1st, 8th, 16th, and 22nd, March 1st, 8th, 15th, 29th, and 31st, April 19th, 5th, 19th, and 26th, May 3rd, 10th, and 17th, June 7th and 21st, July 19th, August 2nd and 16th, September 13th, 20th, 27th, October 4th, 18th, and 25th, November 1st, 9th, and 15th, and December 6th.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Sue. Any discussion?
I wanted to thank administration for all the work, especially Miguel and your group that you did to go through these and make them redacted and available to the public. Thank you.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Ward,
Yes,
Mr. Costello,
Yes.
Ms. Kerr,
Yes.
Ms. Nolan,
Yes.
Ms. Owens.
Yes.
Madam President,
Yes.
approved 6.
Our next proposal is Advanced Placement Environmental Science proposal. This was presented at the last work session and is back before the board tonight for a vote. Administration recommends approval of the Advanced Placement Environmental proposal.
Okay, could I have a motion to approve the Advanced Placement Environmental Science proposal?
So moved.
Sue?
Second.
Melissa? Any discussion? Jeanette?
so the AP Environmental Science Resources present anthropogenic global warming with no opposing view. Therefore, I will be voting no.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Costello,
Yes.
Ms. Kerr,
Yes.
Ms. Nolan,
Yes.
Ms. Owens.
Yes.
Mrs. Ward,
No.
Madam President,
Yes.
approved 5-1.
Our next is the Advanced Placement Music Theory proposal. This again was a work session item and is returning tonight for discussion and action. Mr. Aldo is joined at the dais if the board has questions. Administration recommends approval of the Advanced Placement Music Theory proposal.
Okay, could I have a motion to approve the Advanced Placement Music Theory proposal?
So moved.
Sue?
Second.
Any discussion? Jeanette?
I wanted to thank administration for answering my concerns. I spoke with the music teacher and he related to me the course is very difficult, and I appreciate that you addressed that and that you've considered it. So I'm okay with voting yes.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Jackson's taking it.
Jackson's taking it?
I have taken the AP test, not the class itself. I just bought the AP study book and read that throughout the year, and then took the class took the test at the end.
Wow.
So they're doing the work already.
Apparently, it can be passed. It can be done.
Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Skirt,
Yes.
Ms. Nolan,
yes,
Ms. Owens,
Yes.
Mrs. Ward,
Yes.
Mr. Costello,
Yes.
Madam President,
Yes.
approved 6-0.
Our next is the Advanced Placement Studio Art Theory proposal, one that I don't believe Jackson has taken yet. Administration recommends approval of the Advanced Placement Studio Art Theory proposal as submitted.
Can I have a motion to approve the Advanced Placement Studio Art Theory proposal?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Bill? Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Nolan,
yes,
Ms. Owens,
Yes.
Mrs. Ward,
Yes.
Mr. Costello,
Yes.
Ms. Kerr,
Yes.
Madam President,
Yes.
approved 6.
Our next is a work session item returning under discussion action, the Resource Escalate English ESL Resource Proposal. Joining at the dais is Dr. Acevedo, Mrs. Makashima. Actually, not. Sorry. The team is here. If the board has questions, they're able to answer. Otherwise, administration recommends approval of the Escalate English ESL Resource Proposal.
Could I have a motion to approve Escalate English ESL Resource Proposal?
So moved.
Melissa?
Second.
Sue? Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Owens,
Yes.
Mrs. Ward,
Yes.
Mr. Costello,
Yes.
Ms. Kerr,
Yes.
Ms. Nolan,
yes,
Madam President,
Yes.
approved 6-0.
Our next is the High School Physical Education Proposal. Administration recommends approval of the High School Physical Education Proposal and will respond to any questions the board might have.
Can I have a motion to approve the high school physical education proposal?
So moved.
Second.
Melissa? Jeanette? Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Ward,
Yes.
Mr. Costello,
Yes.
Ms. Kerr,
Yes.
Ms. Nolan,
yes,
Ms. Owens.
Yes.
Madam President,
Yes.
approved 6-0.
The next was, also comes back as a contract renewal with the Illinois Association of School Boards, the annual dues in the amount of $40,000. Administration recommends approval of the renewal with the Illinois Association of School Boards.
I have a motion to approve the contract renewal, Illinois Association of School Boards, IASB, annual dues.
So moved.
Second.
Melissa? Sue? Any discussion? Jeanette?
I voted no on IASB membership last year, and I don't see a lot of value in their services. It seems counterproductive to back an organization that supports laws that cost taxpayers generally, and who also fund their lobbying efforts. So I will be voting no.
I too, will, excuse me, I too will be voting no. Primarily, in addition to what Mrs. Ward said, I feel that these assets could be better used in the classroom for teachers or other resources. And I'm always going to be areas where we can invest resources into the school units and not external forces.
Sue?
I think I support this. I think IASB provides us with a number of services. I know there was an article in the paper which implied they were just lobbyists, but they really are a lot more than that. They keep track of legislation. And if you've ever tried to keep track of legislation in Springfield, there are thousands of bills every year, and trying to figure out the ones that are directly related to education is difficult. They also provide guidance on policy updates for when legislation gets passed. Keep track of what we need to be keeping track of because we're legally bound to follow all of the stuff that goes on in Springfield. They also provide information for board members. Remember, board members aren't trained. We could be anyone off the street, and they have a magazine that gives information on current issues in education. They have other services, including online classes. So I think they are valuable. I would point out that we're paying $40,000 for this year, which is a little bit less than last year, and we would probably need to pay someone to do all of what they do, especially the legal stuff, would probably come to more than $40,000. So I will be supporting this.
Melissa?
And I would say that I also support them because of the policy work that they do. A number of the policies that we have in our school district are modeled on what IASB has put together. Again, that's a lot of legal work to make sure that those policies are in sync with what is called for in school code. So we would have to pay for somebody to do that regardless. In addition, we've got a new board member coming on board this summer. We have the potential for having a new school board member possibly with an election next year. And we use IASB to get those board members up to speed on the myriad of things that they need to know just to be able to have a start in doing this job. So, and that's a tall order. So I do support the money that goes to this association.
Anything else? I guess I just want to say that I was very disappointed when I read that article and made it sound like our dues to IASB go to lobbying efforts only, because that is such a minor part of what they do for us. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I support IASB. They do have many more services than lobbying, and it's the other stuff is much more important even than the lobbying portion of it. So I will be voting for it. Roll call, please.
Mr. Costello,
No.
Ms. Kerr,
Yes.
Ms. Nolan,
Yes.
Ms. Owens.
Yes.
Mrs. Ward,
No.
Madam President,
Yes.
approved 4-2.
Our next is a proposal from Curriculum Instruction, Golden Apple STEM Professional Development. Administration recommends approval of the proposal from Golden Apple in the amount of $54,000 for Phase 1 and $112,500 for Phase 2, for a combined total of $166,500. And we continue to make that recommendation. If you have questions, the team is joined.
Okay, could I have a motion to approve the Curriculum and Instruction Golden Apple STEM Professional Development?
So moved.
Melissa?
Second.
Sue. Any discussion? Jeanette?
So as I explained last year, included in this proposal is Golden Apple Professional Development for Teachers, which includes a climate change day. The purpose of this professional development is to train teachers how to teach students and to support inquiry-based pedagogy. One of the handouts states that there is a great deal of misinformation available online and in the media about climate change. With that, I wholeheartedly agree. Unfortunately, this material perpetuates misinformation and presents only one-sided arguments by presenting anthropogenic global warming as the only view. How does it support inquiry-based pedagogy to teach teachers to present only one viewpoint to students? On my Facebook page, I have linked to several resources which actually present an opposing view. I will be voting no on this proposal.
Any other discussion, comments? Roll call, please.
Ms. Kerr,
Yes.
Ms. Nolan,
yes,
Ms. Owens,
Yes.
Mrs. Ward,
No.
Mr. Costello,
Yes.
Madam President,
Yes.
approved 5-1.
Thank you. Our next is information services, technology purchase for Chromebooks. This was on work session at the last meeting. Unfortunately, it had the incorrect attachment. The updated attachment is here for the board's review. Administration recommends approval of the proposal from Dell Marketing in the amount of $503,794.86 and requests authorization for administration to execute related documents.
Okay, could I have a motion to approve information services, technology purchase Chromebooks?
So moved.
Sue?
Second.
Melissa? Any discussion?
One question.
Yes, go ahead.
Do we have a plan for rolling all this out?
We've been meeting with building representatives since January.
Okay.
When we were planning to bring the proposal forward, we've met with all high school principals, all middle school principals, and been problem solving with them.
Okay, good.
And we do have a plan, school by school, what's get new Chromebooks, what's going to be distributed. So we have a plan
Okay.
per school.
Great. Thank you.
Any other questions? Jeanette?
Yeah, I wanted to thank administration for your detailed response to my question. I didn't know that all Chromebooks are not the same. And I encourage the public to look on board response to board inquiries because this is really helpful. And I appreciate also that you're going to test them next time and more and specify the things that are needed. So thank you for that.
Anything else? Roll call, please.
Ms. Nolan,
yes,
Ms. Owens,
Yes.
Mrs. Ward,
Yes.
Mr. Costello,
Yes.
Ms. Kerr,
Yes.
Madam President,
Yes.
approved 6-0.
Thank you all. Our next other business discussion action items are 2 employee resolutions. The first one is a resolution regarding the suspension and dismissal of tenured teacher D. Administration recommends the Board of Education approve the resolution regarding the suspension and dismissal of Ignacio Alvarez.
Could I have a motion to adopt the resolution regarding the suspension and dismissal of a tenured teacher, Ignacio Alvarez?
So moved.
Second.
Matt, Melissa? Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Owens,
Yes.
Mrs. Ward,
Yes.
Mr. Costello,
Yes.
Ms. Kerr,
Yes.
Ms. Nolan,
yes,
Madam President,
Yes.
approved 6-0.
The next is a matter before the Board of Education is whether to approve the resolution regarding the suspension and dismissal of Robert Brault. Administration recommends the board approve the resolution regarding the suspension and dismissal of Robert Brault.
I have a motion to approve, to adopt the resolution regarding the suspension and dismissal of a tenured teacher, Robert Brault.
So moved.
Second.
Jeanette and Sue. Oh. Okay. I didn't hear you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Owens,
Yes.
Mrs. Ward,
Yes.
Mr. Costello,
Yes.
Ms. Kerr,
Yes.
Ms. Nolan,
yes,
Madam President,
Yes.
approved 6-0.
Our next is a report from the Family and Community Engagement Committee of the Citizens Advisory Council, here to give you the final report of the year for CAC. Joining our Mr. Novello, and I can't even say your name now.
That's okay.
I'll let you introduce yourselves. Mr. Hovey and Mr. Novello.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Does everybody have a copy or?
Would you guys like copies?
We have it in
You
our.
have it? Okay. First of all, thank you to the board for having us here and always supporting our committee. We really appreciate it. All right, so we're going to start with Family and Community Engagement Committee report for 2018. We're going to start with some acknowledgments. We'd like to acknowledge Mary Fergus, who is the Director of School and Community Relations, Carla Jimenez, the Coordinator of Family and Community Engagement, for their ongoing support and encouragement of the committee's work, and also Ruby Marufo, I swear I say that wrong, for administrative support of our initiatives also.
Thank you. So the mission of the CAC Family and Community Engagement Committee is to take on challenges and initiatives through the school year that help improve parent and community involvement at the school and district levels. Our initiatives for the past school year were to expand the parent PTO booster group network, plan and organize U46 Realtors Breakfast, and evaluate our involvement in student-led conferences. So in its 10th year of work, the Family and Community Engagement Committee explored these 3 initiatives to address various avenues of involvement in U46. We align this to the strategic plan, primarily priorities 5 and 6.
So we had 2 meetings this past school year for the PTO and PTA network. Our first meeting, we had 23 attendees representing 17 schools, and our second meeting, we had 23 attendees again with 16 schools, which are very good turnouts for us. We would like to get more, so we're going to keep pushing, getting this stuff out on Facebook and all the other social media sites. But we plan on still having 2 meetings per year for our PTO groups. We get a lot of good feedback from each group. Everybody trying to help each other out, just to try and make our communities a little bit better and grow our schools. Our recommendation is continue to support the goals and progress of the parent group network by providing complete transparency on U46 guidelines and policies as they apply to the parent groups, and encourage support from our Board of Education members. If you can come to any of our meetings throughout the year, we would love to have you.
Thank you. U46 Realtors Breakfast was successfully hosted. This would be the 4th event that held March 10th at Streamwood High School Library. The event was sponsored by BMO Harris Bank and attracted 45 real estate agents. Folders about the district were received by all attendees, and a copy of the presentation. Streamwood Village President Billy Roth, who has a background in real estate, shared some brief remarks and gave an overview of what knowledge they would gain about the district offerings. Tony explained the district's programs and services and highlighted its annual report. We also had a Streamwood High School student share their personal journey within U46. At the conclusion of the presentation, a tour was given by Principal Michelle Chapman, and comment cards were distributed to all. On the back of the handout are the comments from the attendees. You could take a look at those in your leisure time. Our recommendation is the committee recommends we continue the Realtors Breakfast on an annual basis, and that it be held in early March to capture the busy spring home buying season. The location of the event should be held in different areas of the district annually to expose new real estate professionals to a variety of the benefits that the district offers. We also looked at student-led conferences, and this is an innovative way for students to and families to engage and support student learning. The initiative was born about 5 years ago and was adopted by a number of principals and school teaching staff within the district. We'd like to take this time to thank Dr. Usma Shah, the Assistant Superintendent of Elementary Education, for her continued advocacy in this area. While we continue to advocate for student-led conferences, we realize that the scope of this is much larger than the FACE committee can handle. And in that light, we were presented with a group that offered to give some insights into different student-led conference practices throughout the country. As our recommendation to the board, we encourage the board to support district staff with the resources that will lead to successful growth and adoption of student-led conferences within U46.
Some of the additional areas of interest that we deal with are the 5 essentials. As a committee, we continue to follow and promote the benefits of parent-guardian participation in the survey administered by the state of Illinois. We believe this aligns well with our stated goals and ask to review the results of the 5 Essentials Parent Survey to better support our schools. And also community engagement. So we are committed to provide a welcoming atmosphere in our committee and our work. As part of the work, we always look for ways to promote the positive benefits of the district and the programs and offerings that help make U46 great and unique. We encourage the growth of an involved community that recognizes the value they add to student success. Our recommendation is the committee recommends that we continue to support all efforts that will increase family and community engagement.
Thank you.
And on another note, for the parents that are involved and are on their PTOs, do CAC, do other things around the community, thank you very much. If you're not involved, get involved. Your parent or your children will thank you for it. And it just builds a much stronger community. And we've got a lot of different communities here. So please make sure you get involved, make sure you volunteer. And that's it for us.
Thank you. And there is
That's
plenty of room on CAC for additional schools and representatives to come join us. Any questions from the board?
Melissa?
I just want to thank you both for your work. And thank you especially for adding the survey from the Realtors Breakfast to this, because it's really interesting to read the comments. And I really enjoy seeing that portion of it. I was happy to go to that presentation. I thought, you guys did a great job hosting that. I was able to go to one of the PTO networks. I think it was the last one. And there was great discussion amongst the PTO representatives there. So thanks for facilitating that. I think those are important discussions. PTOs are always, in need of, I think, support because people change over in PTOs so rapidly. So I think that that's a great service that the committee is bringing. So thank you to you both, and thank your committee members for me.
You will. Thank you.
Sue?
And thank you for staying so late. I know this is probably not the meeting to.
We thought we just made somebody mad and put us way down on the agenda.
I did have one question about the PTO, PTA meetings you're having. Yes. How successful have you been about attracting high school and middle school PTOs or boosters?
We've done much better getting the middle schools and the high schools to start attending. Originally, we started with just the elementary schools, and when we did move to the middle schools and high schools, we have had better success. Unfortunately, the dynamics are much different between elementary PTOs and getting into the boosters and all the different groups that do deal with middle school and high schools. Since neither of us have children in middle school or high school yet, we don't know that dynamic, so it's a little different for us to deal with them. But we've gotten really good feedback from them also, and they seem to mix in really well with elementary schools.
Yeah. And one of the things that came out of the last meeting I thought was very interesting is we talked about some lead-ins to the next stage, whether it was elementary PTOs, or middle school PTOs, inviting the elementary PTOs into their feeder schools to see what they were doing, and vice versa into the high school. So I think if we can continue the community involvement throughout the program, there's some benefits there.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, it is. Any other? Jackson?
For speaking to actually getting students to attend, I didn't actually know about this prior to this meeting. So I just think any additional efforts you could make actually in schools, whether that be asking the student councils to put up posters or coming and being there during lunch periods to recruit people to come. I'd just like any effort to make to get more students to attend, because I know personally I'd be interested in this, and I just haven't seen much about it in my schools.
We have been, it's mostly directed to our PTO parents as a way of sharing ideas. We do also do presentations at them for our parents. So we really don't have it geared towards the student part of it, but we could definitely look at that and work with the students if they're willing to come and participate.
Thank you.
We'll make sure you're invited to all of them next year.
Anything else? Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Work session, Mr.
Our
Sanders.
first work session item is the student code of conduct. Coming forward to present along with Mr. Miguel Rodriguez, our chief legal officer, is Mr. John Heiderscheid, director of school safety and culture, and Mr. Luis Rodriguez, staff attorney. The board will recall that annually you review and approve the student code of conduct. At the last meeting, we had Megan Larson from CAC present at least some of the recommendations that they made into this process, and we continue to get feedback. But its final stage in the journey is now as it's presented to you for final adoption at the next board meeting. So, Mr. Rodriguez, Mr. Heiderscheid.
Hi, good evening. Before you, we had a memo that was sent to Mr. Sanders outlining the changes. The changes are not in the area of behavior offenses or consequences, interventions, or the process that we have. Most of the changes were really adopted from the Illinois State Board of Education model to deal with, to help us form a student code of conduct that addresses the disproportionality and discipline and outlines the due process investigation processes for parents to see how we do our business if a discipline incident was to occur. The model documents that we considered and looked for, as well as this feedback from the CAC committee administrators and the process that we followed, are outlined on the memo. The model student code of conduct, an interdisciplinary approach to transforming school discipline from the State Board of Education from the Loyola University project that was called Transforming School Discipline Collaborative. The AA which is the School District Code of Conduct, we've actually been involved with them since 2014 and are recommending and addressing discipline, disproportionality, and education documents. We must note that, again, these changes are recommended to the Board of Education by the administration to provide further clarity and transparency in our U46 discipline process that will address disproportionate discipline practices. And those of which we outlined some of that data in the March 2018 report on equity in the school district. This is a response to an action plan from that report that we provided in March. These changes are recommended to address fairness and equity for all students. The changes recommended that were not recommended by any of the committees are noted below, and then we had a list page by page of the changes that were made. If you like, I can go through each one, or we can address questions.
Does anyone have any questions, or do we want to go through that?
So I asked a lot of questions, and thank you for answering them, and they're available on board docs for the public to see. I just had a few brief comments about the concept of the student code of conduct as a whole. I have a number of issues with this, as should be obvious from my questions. First, justice should be colorblind. If a student does the crime, they should do the time, regardless of what color they are. Otherwise, chaos will ensue. I would like to remind everyone that Parkland, Florida adopted race-based disciplinary practices to reduce the numbers of minority students reported for disciplinary action, which is one reason the shooter was not expelled. Second, bullying should be prohibited, period, without the necessity to call out every disparate group of people. This document as it stands, I find very problematic. So I'm just letting you know.
Any other questions? Phil?
I was just scrolling down and I know it's something that I'm not sure if it's subject to, but you would consider students may be asked to pay for lost, stolen, or damaged property. Why would it not say students shall pay for lost, stolen, or damaged property? What's the gray area there? Why would they not pay for something that they lost, stole, or damaged?
Can you have the share the page number of that?
Page 5.
Thank you.
Sorry. Yeah, I think you're mine.
I'm sorry, what?
So the shall and the mays,
Yes.
the shall is the always and the mays is the,
Yes.
it's a possibility. It gives us more discretionary ability to address situations, a shall and a may. We don't know if, if a family can pay and we're going to do that or not.
Okay, I guess. I just think that they should have repercussions for if they, lost. That's, I could see a gray area there. But if they stole something or they damaged it, there should be consequence, even if it's to be waived under certain situations. So it's not a big deal. I just, it seems that they should have consequences to poor actions or poor judgment.
Absolutely. I don't think this is saying that there won't be consequences, but as far as paying for something, the may was intended for that purpose. We can certainly address that comment.
If I may say, let's say that a student is definitely found to have, say, burnt the classroom or something, whatever. And then we go out, one of the first things that we probably would need to look at in terms of whether the parents, it's really the parents that are responsible, not the student so much legally. But if the parents, for example, if they're judgment proof, we can file a complaint against them and everything, but we will not be able to collect.
Oh, that's understood. I get that.
Mm-hmm. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions, comments? No? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next are a set of resolutions that are annual events for the Board of Education. The first is a resolution authorizing participation in federal and state-supported programs. Joining the dais is Dr. Jeff King, if the board has questions. Administration recommends the Board of Education adopt the resolution authorizing participation in federal and state-supported programs.
Are there any questions? No?
Our next is a resolution establishing prevailing wage. This is an annual required resolution required by state law. Administration recommends approval of the resolution establishing prevailing wage.
Are there any questions on prevailing wage?
Where did the prevailing wages come from?
We pull them off of the website.
Thank you.
Department of Labor, correct?
Yeah. So the ones that are in the proposal, it's the same as last year. Those are last year's rates. The new ones have not been published yet.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Well, is to comment. So last year and the year before, and I think the year before that, can't remember now, I've advocated for doing our own prevailing wage survey. So I'm going to advocate for that again.
Yeah, we just don't have the personnel to do that.
It's unlikely that that would be acceptable by
Yeah, I don't know.
the body that sets the prevailing wage.
Any other questions, comments? Okay,
Our next is a resolution requesting approval of hazardous transportation area designations. This is an annual requirement by the Illinois State Board of Education. The list of approved hazardous areas are provided in the resolution. I don't believe there's been any changes from prior years.
I don't believe so.
And administration will recommend the Board of Education adopt the resolution requesting approval of hazardous transportation area designations.
any questions, comments for this one?
A quick comment for the public. So when I first looked at this, I thought hazardous transportation area meant hazardous waste or something like that. It's not that. It's hazardous to students to cross the road on foot and things like that, just
Correct.
so people know.
Correct.
Okay, next
Our
item.
next is the resolution authorizing the transfer of interest earnings from the working cash fund to the transportation fund. Dr. King will remain here to answer any board questions. Administration recommends the Board of Education adopt the resolution authorizing the transfer of interest from the working cash fund to the transportation fund.
Are there any questions on the transfer? Okay,
And the final resolution, Jeff really wants to pay our bills, so he's recommending a resolution authorizing the school treasurer to make bond and interest payments. And administration recommends approval of said resolution.
any questions on that? Okay, thank you,
Thank you.
Dr. King.
Our next work session item are contracts over $25,000. Bruce Phelps will join for the remainder. Joining him for this first proposal is Dr. Trish Rode and Jackie Johnson. The first is a contract renewal, curriculum instruction, secondary reading with school pace. Administration recommends approval of the contract renewal with American Reading Company in the amount of $25,000 and request authorization for district administration to execute related documents. The expenditure will be charged to the educational fund and is in the budget for the 2018-19 school year.
Any questions? Melissa?
I had just one question that I sent in. I don't think I got a response on it, though. I see that there's 25 classrooms. About how many students are we serving on this? Do we know?
1,561.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Was there another board question on this one? I don't remember specifically. I thought Mr.
I do
Costello had
believe
one.
we got a couple questions. So I think there was a question about whether parents can access,
Yes.
right? And they cannot directly access, but the online program, but teachers are asked to communicate and send reports home. So it's not something that I can log in like an instruction or an Infinite Campus. The reports are generated by the teacher and sent home.
Is it sent to everyone or just by specific inquiry? I mean, do they just generally send it out or?
So, and I can let Jackie chime in.
So the teacher meets with students individually and conferences with them, and they're collecting data through that into school pace. And then they will send home a report to the parent sharing what the power goals are. So in other words, what's the learning target and what's the evidence that's being collected. So there's communication between the parent, student, and the teacher around really what is that student working on for improving their reading.
Specifically for that given student,
For that
they are
given
addressing that,
Yeah.
which is
But
better.
because the platform has everybody's data and doesn't have isolated, that's why.
Makes sense.
And then we also sent a link to Dr. Johnson that had a link to sample reading reports. That was, I think, your other question.
Right, is to report progress against desired outcomes, more general one. Thank you.
I noticed you mentioned Clever in here. How does this relate to Clever?
So Clever is an online platform that lets us log into all these different programs without having 17 different passwords and 17 different logins. That's how we utilize Clever.
Oh, because I noticed as a parent that if my student logs in on a computer that's mine, then I can see everything that they're learning through Clever.
Mm-hmm.
So, a note to parents out there.
We actually regularly teach students to make certain that they log out of Clever at school. That's part of the protocol that we work with them so that no one else can get into their data.
Anything else?
Our next is
Yes.
all right.
go
Our
ahead.
next is a contract renewal for information services, telecommunications network support. Joining Mr. Phelps is Laura Macias. Administration recommends approval of the contract renewal for 1 year with Sentinel for the amount of $119,696.82 and requests authorization for district administration to execute related documents. The expenditure will be charged to the educational fund and is included in the budget for the 2018-19 school year.
Are there any questions? Okay.
Thank you, Laura. Our next is a contract renewal, Human Resources Frontline Absence and Substitute Management. Administration, Mrs. Mydell will join at the dais to help answer report questions. Administration recommends approval of the contract renewal with Frontline Education in the amount of $31,717.45 and requests authorization for administration to execute related documents. It is in the budget and it's going to be charged to the educational fund.
Are there any questions? Okay.
Thanks, Molly. Our next is a contract renewal for information services, mobile device management software, AirWatch. Administration recommends approval of the contract renewal with Heartland Business Systems for the amount of $38,200 and requests authorization to execute related documents. The expenditure will be charged to the educational fund and is included in the budget for the 18-19 school year.
Are there any questions?
Our next next is a contract renewal for information services Microsoft Office license. Administration recommends approval of the contract renewal with CDWG for the amount of $127,795.72 and requests authorizations to execute related documents. The expenditure we charge the educational fund is included in the budget for the 2018-19 school year. I know we did have one question from a board member relative to why we don't competitively bid, and I don't know if you want to answer.
Yeah, so when we're doing business with Microsoft, we use what we call the guidelines, is the EE solutions, the enrollment for education solutions. So it's a special pricing. So we do have a formula, which is full-time faculty plus part-time faculty divided by 3, full-time staff, part-time staff divided by 2. So once we come up with that number, that's the only number that we paid. Therefore, the students are for free. So that's the educational part of it. So if we meet this requirement and we send them the total number based on this formula, the students are free. So maybe next year, if more staff members would like to join the Google world, we might not need as many licenses, but that's why the licenses did not change, because it's based on the staff and not on the students' usage.
And I asked that question. My point was that it just seemed like, why wouldn't we go to Microsoft directly as opposed to using a third party that presumably is getting some kind of a layer of profit, regardless of which one we went to, they would all be the same thing. It's the same price. So I appreciate the explanation.
Yeah, so they don't do direct. They have to do with vendors. And
value added.
It's a mandatory, so it doesn't matter what vendor we go for, it's the same price.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you. Our next is a contract for teaching and learning with learning behavior specialist 1, LBS 1. Dr. Johnson is coming forward to answer any board questions that you might have. Administration recommends approval of the 2-year contract with Northern Illinois University, not to exceed the amount of $224,000, and requests authorization for district administration to execute related documents. The expenditure will be charged to the IDEA Part B flow-through grant fund and is included in the budget for the next 2 fiscal years. Before we open up for board questions, I think Dr. Johnson spent a lot of time. I know we've worked with the Elgin Teachers Association and other groups to get this to this point. So could you just give a quick overview of the reason behind this?
Sure, absolutely. So as Mr. Sanders indicated, we've spent about the last year working collaboratively with NIU and the Elgin Teachers Association to come forward with offering this opportunity. We see that on the national, state, and local level, one of the areas that we have the most difficulty in recruiting are teachers with the LBS 1 endorsement. That's specifically to teach special education, and that's a variety of special education courses. And so while we see a challenge to recruit teachers to come to U46 to fill those positions, we identified that we could launch our own Grow Your Own program. So in working collaboratively with NIU and utilizing some of our IDEA grant funds, we could allocate funds to give opportunities for our current teachers who do not have that endorsement to attain the endorsement, and then make a commitment to teaching within U46 with the understanding that when vacancies arise that would go potentially unfilled, they would accept those teaching positions and make a commitment to U46 to fill those positions. Currently, when those positions come up and they go unfilled, we have to work collaboratively with ISB to identify then a plan in which we are initially putting someone into positions who may not have the required certification, and then we have to work still collaboratively to get them the required endorsement in a timely manner to be able to continue to meet the guidelines for filling those positions. So this opportunity really helps us meet our own needs for filling those positions. And we also know that it's identified that there will continue to be even more of those needs. Of course, whether or not the teachers in this program end up with a specific specialized student services course assignment, we recognize also the value in having broadened our pedagogy and our methods and our abilities to provide a high level of differentiation and progress monitoring for all students. So we certainly feel that this is a positive for our students and our staff. So there were, sorry. I was
No,
going
go
to
ahead.
just share, there were some other questions that we didn't get answered in time for today. So one of those questions was, is the endorsement typically require graduate level work? So when the endorsement is included within a bachelor's for a teacher that's not graduate level coursework, when a teacher has already attained a bachelor's degree, then the LBS 1 coursework becomes graduate work because it is modified to be building off of the degree and the skills they've already attained through a bachelor's. So in this case, all of our teachers already have a bachelor's, and so it does become graduate coursework for those teachers. The proposal states that we'll spend up to $224,000, and it's right on. We are obligated to paying $8,000 per credit hour, regardless of how many students. However, what we can't confirm is the exact number of courses. So here's my example. When we look at on the contract, page 2 of the contract, it had 3 different courses for the fall of 2018. The first course listed, which is SESE 554, all students are going to take that course. That's the Applied Behavior Analysis course. Everyone will take that. The next 2 courses that are listed will depend upon transcript review of our teachers who are participating in the cohort. So pending review of that transcript, many of them have already had a survey or a foundations course in special education. So that would tell us, one, it might be possible that we don't need to offer that course at all because all of our teachers have already met that requirement through their BA, their undergraduate. Or it could be possible that some of them would only need that 1-hour course or the 3-hour course. So the contract is priced out to include the potential of having to provide all 4 of those credit hours for our staff, and we won't know that until we actually run the transcripts collaboratively with NIU. The other place where there's some room for why it might not be that total cost is when you look at fall of 2019. That's the assistive technology and methods for teaching individuals with autism and developmental disabilities course. And one of the things that we know is that we can have up to 35 participants in the cohort. And that's doable for all but that course. So while we expect to have 35 members, we currently have 23 confirmed, but we're just still waiting for responses and confirmation agreements to come back from our other teachers. We fully expect we'll have 35 teachers. But one of the things that we're reviewing with NIU is that typically they're on their own to provide the technology that teachers would be reviewing and accessing and practicing with. But we already have a pretty well built out assistive technology program within U46. And so what we currently are reviewing, which would then decrease that cost, is that could we provide some of that lab space as well? So the issue is just having the amount of technology for our teachers to be interacting with. So if we can be responsive and partner, that would decrease the cost as well. So that's why the variation, you are correct. It's regardless of how many students, but we fully expect to have 35 teachers participating in the cohort.
I didn't ask this beforehand, so I just thought of it now. So what happens if a teacher gets the certification, but then they decide they want to go somewhere else?
So what we have asked in the agreement is that teachers make a 5-year commitment to U46 from the completion of the cohort. So they have 2 years. It's approximately 2 years to complete it. So by fall of 2020, we're then asking for another 5-year commitment. Otherwise, the teacher will repay the cost of the program.
And that's pretty common in the industry. My company paid for my MBA, and there was a contract that I signed that if I left within a certain period of time, I also would pay it back.
Mm-hmm.
That was my question. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Our next proposals are all bids and proposals. The first is a proposal from Information Services for a technology purchase for something called the desktop. Administration recommends award of the proposal from Dell Marketing LP in the amount of $1,220,400 and requests authorization for district administration to execute related documents. This expenditure will be charged to the educational fund and is included in the budget for the 2018-19 school year.
Are there any questions? Melissa?
I had just asked, I mean, not specifically to this proposal, but given the amount of technology that we bought in the last, or that we've purchased in the last several months, I mean, this is 2,700 desktops, units. We could have a technology update in the near future, just to kind of get another handle on where we stand with our technology plan.
Yeah, absolutely. We've actually have updated a lot of the practices. As you know, we're doing things differently to make it better, and we did quite a few updates, like very frequent. So, and actually, I got a new one that I'm going to put that in there. So it's very robust. So I presented that to Dr. King, and we're going to do a lot more. There've been a lot of changes lately. The one-to-one, it changed. The testing. So we have very robust, so you will see it soon.
Okay, thank you.
And I think the Board of Finance Committee also asked for something similar as we develop the future budgets too.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully we'll increase the budget for next year.
And I kind of echo that sentiment too. I think that's a great idea, and somehow bringing it, and I know that this is colossal, but all together in terms of everything we try to do technology-wise, and see how that fits into a more of a global plan for our technology and what we have, what we need, the gap analysis type thing should be very important. I did have a question about which was answered regarding the equipment not meeting specs. Usually what I thought when in a proposal list or that if it didn't meet the specs, it just would not be qualified and it would drop out completely. So I guess that was the nature of my question. You answered it that it didn't, or someone did. The equipment submitted for evaluation by SHI, a lower bid, did not meet our hardware specifications. Did you go back to them and find out, did they misunderstand the proposal, or do you do that?
Well, mainly for that, the response was that they didn't provide the right Intel wireless card. So it was very specific within the package, the RFP, say you must have this Intel card, because we have tested the other two that are in the market and they don't work. They disconnect the students when they test. So when we put out the RFP, it was not that way. Do you understand this? This is the brand and this is what we need in order to do that. So going back and forth with the vendors, it's really not allowed, because only if it's a question, then you can respond to everyone.
Right. And I totally agree with it. It breaks down the integrity of the process itself, but I just didn't want it to be a oops kind of a thing. It was a process, and they knew it wasn't
It's specified.
qualified. Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I have a question. Why are we purchasing desktops instead of laptops?
We have actually we're buying almost half of what we have right now. The 6005 desktops, they're very old, are on warranty, and they are in food services right now. We're gonna cover food services and some of the computer labs that we're gonna keep. And the staff, secretaries, they have these desktops. They're very, very slow, very old. So we're going to cover that. So talking to principals, some of the computer labs, they're going to disappear, not next year, but maybe a year. So that's why we didn't cover all of them next year. We're going to monitor how we do, but most likely we will go some of the labs that do need desktops, but it will be the next step for technology. We may go only laptops. But we're not replacing all of them right now. We're replacing half of it to prepare for the future, to make sure that we got the right technology.
But there's still some programs that are more they're easy to use on a desktop. For example, some of the engineering courses, some of the software that is a little bit more weighty.
PLTW, Beacon Academy, the mechanic trainings, they will always have that in there. But there are other ones that they still want them, and right now we cannot sustain what we have. They're very old. So we have planned for that. We're not replacing them all. We're replacing enough to continue servicing the students next year and for services.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Our next proposal is from Specialized Student Services Department for sensory rooms. Mr. Phelps will continue to remain here. Dr. Satterwhite is not able to join us at this point in the evening, so Dr. Carpenter will join. Administration recommends award of the low bid meeting specification to Southpaw in the amount of $74,247.25 and requests authorization for district administration to execute related documents. The expenditure will be charged to the IDEA Part B flow-through grant fund and is in the budget for the 2018-19 school year. I know we did have some requests. This is specific to middle schools for these sensory rooms. We did have a request for which elementary sites have the sensory rooms. I don't know if we have the answer on that, but we will follow up and get that from the board.
We do, I believe it's
We do?
17.
Okay. So 17 elementary schools have then sensory rooms. And then I believe we also had a question about the low bid meeting specifications and why there wasn't, the other vendor was not selected. I hope we answered that satisfactorily to the board.
I would actually, just the order of it was flip-flop. Usually you go from lowest to highest. This one was to highest to lowest, even though there's only 2 bids. If it is just the fact, I don't, where does it say in the proposal that quality, that the Southpaw is better quality, it's higher price?
Under the executive summary,
Yeah, it says the equipment was reviewed and Southpaw was determined to have superior and higher quality product for sensory room use.
Okay.
each company gave a presentation of their equipment.
Right, and I get that. I did the search, I was looking for anything that said Black House, and I didn't. That's very clear.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I just have a question on how these rooms are used. I'm not familiar with sensory rooms, so is this for special needs
Yes.
kids?
They use the devices to calm the kids to get, so because it's sometimes they're hyper, and then going into these rooms with these different lights and sounds kind of calms them down. During the presentation, we were kind of all put towards that. It was kind of, it looks like a little bit of lights flashing all over the place. You or I might react differently than the students that are in need of it.
So would it be then for like students with an IEP kind of thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It would be
Thanks.
for students with sensory input needs that, yeah. But they would be in their IEPs. They would be in the ILP program. Yes,
More than
more likely.
Okay, thank you.
All right, our last proposal is for Specialized Student Services Department online IEP system. Administration recommends award of the low bid meeting specification to Brex Database Solutions in the amount of $55,433 and requests authorization for district administration to execute related documents. This expenditure will be charged to the IDEA Part B flow-through grant fund and is included in the budget for the school year.
Are there any questions? Sue?
It looks like this is a new system and it's replacing an older system. Do you know if the vendor will help convert data from one system to the other, the new one?
I'm not 100% about that. We'll have to get back to you.
Okay, it's no big deal. I know that's always one of the big issues when you change, from one type of system to another.
I have a question also on this one. This is Veronica. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So the last system I thought had some kind of or the vendor offered some kind of a parent portal, and I'm wondering if this system allows anything like that.
We'll have to get back to you.
Get back to you on that one.
Okay.
Gina, did you have one?
I'm good. My question actually has been answered. Thanks.
Okay. Anything else? All right. That being the last item, could I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Gina,
Second.
Bill? Roll call, please.
Mr. Costello,
Yes.
Ms. Hurd,
Yes.
Ms. Nolan,
Yes.
Ms. Owens.
Yes.
Ms. Ward,
Yes.
Madam President,
Yes.
we're adjourned. 6-0.
Night, Veronica.